Selamat datang ke ASM Podcast yang dibawakan khas oleh Akademi Sains Malaysia. Siri podcast ini merupakan platform perkongsian topik-topik berkaitan sains, teknologi, inovasi dan ekonomi STIE secara santai dan mudah difahami. Setiap episod akan menampilkan jaringan pakar ASM yang akan berkongsi pengalaman dan pendapat mereka tentang STIE seiring dengan etos ASM. Budayakan sains, raikan teknologi, cetuskan inovasi.
Hello and welcome to ASM Podcast, where we explore the minds of our expert network shaping the nation. I'm Nina Azhar, and today I'm deeply honored to speak with a scientist whose work has transformed both landscapes and lives. Dr Ravigadevi Sambanthamurthi, Fellow of the Academy of Sciences of Malaysia, the World Academy of Sciences, and now the first Malaysian-based scientist ever elected as a Fellow of the Royal Society, joins us for an extraordinary conversation. From sequencing the oil palm genome to transforming environmental waste into health-promoting bioactives, Dr. Ravigadevi's contributions span science, sustainability, and innovation. But behind the breakthroughs is also a story of vision, perseverance, and quiet determination. Dr. Ravigadevi, welcome to the show, and congratulations again on this historic recognition. Let's start with this incredible news, being elected as a Fellow of the Royal Society, the first Malaysian to do so. What went through your mind when you received the news?
First of all, thank you, Nina, for having me here. Now, what went through my mind? I'm still absorbing it all. I know it's so surreal. I actually first got an inclination that I'm going to get into the Royal Society when I got a letter saying that the Council of the Royal Society had submitted a list of names for election as fellows. And my name had got onto that list. I was absolutely thrilled. But at the same time, it came with the caution. This does not mean it's a foregone conclusion that they've got it. I needed actually 2/3 of the votes because it had to go for election after the council submitted the names. Those names had to be elected upon. So I needed 2/3 of the fellows electing to support me, otherwise I wouldn't get in. So you can just imagine, there was so much of hope, there was so much of fear as well. What if I don't get in? So, and that was an agonizing wait for more than a month.
Oh,
because I got this news on March 26th, but the voting ended on the end of April, so it was a long wait. But then on 13th May, then I got a letter from the Royal Society official letter on 13th May, saying that indeed I became elected as a Fellow of the Royal Society. I was absolutely overwhelmed. I think, stared at that letter, letting it all sink in, full of joy, gratitude, disbelief, And then my husband was nearby, I shared it with him. He was so excited. I don't know whether it's possible, but I actually think he was even more excited.
He was more excited
than he was. And my son was there, and we were all so excited, and we just hugged each other and just let it all sink in. So it was such an emotional moment. I mean, not just the personal glory, I suppose, but for what it means to the Malaysian Commonwealth Board, our research, what it means to the country, and also to the wonderful team I've worked with throughout my career. I mean, this is definitely not my achievement. It is their achievement. It was fantastic.
That's very well put. And that's a lot of suspense, right? Like for the whole month.
Oh my God.
And we first heard the news from actually your husband. Like we got an email from your husband. There was this really sweet email. So if you don't mind, do you mind sharing like your love story with me? Like something we were curious about.
As I said, we got the news on the 13th, but it was actually embargoed. We had to embargo it until the 20th. And he was so excited. He said, I have to share this with ASM. And he's also a fellow of ASM. So he wanted to blast it to the ASM community. And but he knew that it was an embargo. He said, wait till the 20th. And that's what we did. We blasted it the moment it became public by Royal Society. So Brian and I actually met in London.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So
Studying together.
Then doing my PhD at the Department of Biochemistry in London. And Subra was doing a postgraduate course in neuroanatomy at, believe it or not, University College London, but at the Department of Anatomy and Embryology.
Oh, okay.
So many opportunities to meet, and then we just connected over, I suppose, shared interest and a genuine interest for each other's research, what we were doing. So that's how it happened. And he's been my biggest cheerleader. Really, his support has been phenomenal, actually, and he's been championing my achievements much, much louder than I ever could. So it's been so important. He's played an amazing part in my journey as a scientist.
That's nice to hear. Like, he's been your rock throughout your journey. Yeah.
Definitely. My husband, my family, definitely. Yes.
You've dedicated much of your career to the oil palm research. What drew you into it in the first place?
I think when I came back after finishing my PhD, I had opportunities to work in academia and also Porium at that time. And I wanted to work on the oil palm because, number one, it's a crop of such important natural, so important, right, economically for Malaysia. And at that time, Malaysia was the world's largest producer of palm oil, right? So though it was so important, actually there was very little science. And there were many scientific gaps in many areas. And I saw this as an opportunity to contribute, a chance for me to actually apply my knowledge in biochemistry, biotechnology, to an area where it could really make an impact. Importantly, like fatty acid biosynthesis, oil biosynthesis is so important because it's the oil we're talking about.
Yeah.
But there was hardly anything known about the fatty acid or oil biosynthesis. And that's what I actually started on. I wanted to work on oil palm. And here I am. My entire career has been working on the oil palm, actually. Yeah.
So you were one of the pioneers for this research.
I am indeed. I actually, together with my immediate boss then, actually started the oil palm biotechnology program in Malaysia. So that's just two of us. And it's been a wonderful journey where we could actually add knowledge from the ground. There were obviously challenges. We were in uncharted territory. But it has been so good, that we actually managed to start that.
How long has it been since you first started?
Oh, that was in the late 80s, early 90s.
Oh, okay, okay. And really when oil palm was booming.
Yes.
Definitely at that time, yeah.
Yeah. Simple things like why does the oil palm have so much palmitic acid? People didn't know. So I worked on it and we actually got the answers. So it was really wonderful. We could contribute in so many ways simply because nobody else had done it then. Yeah.
So you've had landmark achievements like the sequencing of the oil palm genome and the discovery of the shell gene, both published in Nature. You also discovered the virescence genes that was published in Nature Communications, and your landmark discovery of the underlying mechanism of the tissue culture abnormality known as mantle. Can you explain a little bit more about, all this work?
First of all, I must really strongly emphasize these are not my individual achievements. Okay, I worked with an amazing team, right? So what you just described is actually the efforts of this amazing team. And also, I've always believed that science cannot thrive in isolation. So we always believe in collaborating, getting the best brains, right? So we also collaborated with both locally and overseas. And I'd actually like to acknowledge our most important collaborator, at least for the genome project. They are actually Orion Genomics from the USA and Cold Spring Harbor Laboratories, USA. They were major collaborators on this particular oil palm genome project. I hope I don't get too technical. You wanted to know about it. Okay, the first is the shell gene. To me, it's an extremely important gene because it is the most important genetic determinant of oil yield.
Oh, okay.
So if you get that, you can really do a lot with your oil. And for a long time, it was known, that there was a shell gene, but they didn't know what it was, which was the gene, So we discovered that gene. And just to explain to you, I'm not sure, maybe not many people are familiar with the oil palm. The oil palm has three fruit forms.
Three fruit forms.
Okay. One is known as dura. And the dura fruit has got a thick shell.
Okay.
And because it has a thick shell, it has less pulp. So palm oil comes from the pulp of the fruit.
Yep.
And because of its thick shell, you get less oil. Then there's another fruit form known as Piscifera that has no shell. So one would think that because it has no shell, it has got more oil, but that's not the case because the Piscifera is usually female sterile, so it doesn't produce fruits. So you don't get any fruits, no oil. So what is commercially planted and what should be 100% in the commercial fields should be the fruit form known as Tenera.
That's the third one.
That's the third one, Tenera. That is the commercial material in the fields.
Okay.
The Tenera has a thin shell, and because of that, it's got more oil.
Okay.
But over and above that, the Tenera also produces more fresh fruit bunches. So in addition to the fruit itself having more oil, it has also got more bunches producing that fruit. So that combination of increased fresh fruit bunch and a thin shell means that the Tenera has about 66% more oil than the Tura and 100% more oil than Piscifera, which doesn't produce fruits. Right? So that is extremely important. And most, at least before we had our invention. So I have to say that after we discovered the shell gene, we then went on to develop a diagnostic assay so that we could test for Tenera, or Piscifera, we could test what it is we're having as early as the seed stage. Before that, you'll have to wait for the palm to fruit, get the fruit, chop it, and then look whether it's got a thin shell or thick shell. And that is about 6 years before the oil palm starts to fruit. But now, at the seed stage, we can tell what it is they're planting.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so we can plant it right. And that is so important, especially for oil palm, because it is a perennial crop. It is not like sunflower or soy, which you plant next year, you can get rid of them. This crop is going to be there for the next 25 years bearing fruit. So it's got an economic lifespan of 25 years.
Oh, okay.
So it's very important that you plant it right from the start, right? And now we can do it. And we actually, having developed the test, we did a national survey, and we were shocked that Malaysia has got 12.8% contamination with no Tenera material.
Oh,
That is huge, right? It means that in terms of land use efficiency, if we did the testing, we can improve land use efficiency by 6.9% or more. That's important for sustainability. And also the revenue from palm oil and its products could increase by more than 2 billion US per year. Putting it another way, it means that currently Malaysia is losing more than 2 billion US dollars annually simply because not all the palm trees in the commercial field are Tenera.
oh, okay. So you can actually convert from the other two types to Tenera? Is that what you mean?
No. What I'm saying is plant it right from the start.
Plant it right from the
Once it's
start.
out there, you can't pull it out. I mean, it's too much of an effort. You just have to leave it there. So I'm saying that please plant it right from the start. Do the testing before it goes out into the field. They do research, but they don't test every seed or every bunch before it goes out.
So
to
we
the
lose
field.
out to optimal
Tremendously in terms of revenue, in terms of sustainability. It is something that I'm really passionate about because I really think this is something very, very important for the oil palm industry. Yeah, so that's just the shell. The virescence is actually the gene that controls fruit color. And fruit color is an important indicator of how ripe the palm fruit is. And ripeness, of course, is linked with oil yield. So that is another discovery. And again, we developed a diagnostic test so that at the seed stage, if you want, you can pick those virescence palms. And so that's the second one. We talked about the mantle.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that was really an iconic discovery because tissue culture, it came out in the 80s, right?
Okay.
The oil palm industry was so excited because tissue culture means you can actually, let's say, select a high-yielding, what they call a superior palm.
Yep.
And then you can mass propagate that. So you can produce millions of clones, all the same, all high-yielding. So there was a lot of excitement then. But then life is never that straightforward. Then you had something emerged called tissue culture abnormality, a specific abnormality known as mantled, right?
Okay.
And if a fruit is mantled, the oil palm bunch aborts. So then you lose all the oil. So there's no oil.
Oh.
So all that excitement, about planting tissue culture oil palm, this metal put the brakes on it.
Oh.
Right? So for almost 30 years, the oil palm industry was actually trying for an answer to what is causing this, the solution. And so many people were working on it, not just MPOB, the industry, the overseas as well, right? Other oil palm producers. But we actually discovered the epigenetic. It's not a genetic basis, epigenetic. I won't get too technical, but it was an epigenetic, which means that it wasn't a change in the gene sequence.
It's a genetic memory, right? Epigenetic.
But it was an epigenetic. It was like how it is expressed. The gene sequence is the same, but how it is expressed is determined by other factors like methylation. I won't go to the details of it. So we discovered the epigenetic mechanism, and that got us into the front cover of Nature. And it's now we have developed again a diagnostic assay where you can predict clonal fidelity to almost 100%. So that is something that we hope will also get adopted widely. There are always things where you have to improve further, bring the cost down. But it's there. We have discovered it. So it's nice. Yeah.
Of all this research that you've had, like which one is the most, glaring, like something that you really remember?
All of them. So many.
Fundamentals, or is it
so many? Obviously, the genome was amazing.
Yeah.
So much publicity, and then finding out why the oil palm produces so much palmitic acid, which is AEM, saturated fatty acid. Nobody knew, and at that time, I think the audience would not know. We had an advisor called Professor Paul Stump. He's the godfather of biostatistics, and he was our advisor at Porrington. And he told me, if you can find out why your oil palm is producing so much palmitic acid, you've got to show me now. And when someone challenges me, I go for it. So I did. So I did that early work, and we discovered exactly why this is so. And based on that information, we actually devised our genetic engineering program at that time so that we could modulate fatty acid biosynthesis. So that was a big thing at that time. So you're growing as a scientist, right? So every part excites you. So it's a bit unfair to say, what
cannot choose it.
I don't want to choose. And then there was a genome. And then there was other things as well, like the polyphenol work, So it's a lot. Yeah,
You love all the experiences equally.
think so. Yes. Okay. Yes.
So you filed over 40 patents and developed technologies. How do you decide what's worth pursuing beyond the lab?
Okay. Actually, I didn't file the patents. MPOB.
Okay.
I'm an inventor, so MPOB filed the patents. And to me, if possible, everything in the bench should get out. Everything in the lab should get out.
Okay.
Right? That's if possible. But when patenting, I think one has to understand why are we patenting it, right? To me, one of the most important reasons for patenting is freedom to operate, right? Because if you've made an important discovery, let's say of national, of global importance, you would like to control it, right? A simple example is the shell. We patented it, so we have the technology. If another competing country, let's say, patented it, then we will not be able to do those tests I talked about. We'll have to get permission from them. We'll have to pay them royalty to do these tests. And right now, the other countries have to actually come to us. And they have to pay royalty to us because it is a Malaysian technology. So to me, that is very important, the freedom to operate so that you can commercialize, not just commercialize, you can move further on that research, right? So to me, that's important. And then, how do you choose? I mean, in my mind, I think that question should be there even when you start your work, when you start your bench work. I'm not saying that everything should be commercialized and patented. Believe me, that's not true. And I feel that's a big issue, I think, at least in Malaysia before, where everything was for applied research, no basic research. You need that basic research before you go on to apply. You don't want to be a technologist who doesn't understand the basics. So to me, we did a lot of that basic work. But having done all that, what goes up? Of course, something of national importance, something that's got an impact, that solves a real national problem, a real world problem, like the strategy. I mean, it really improves sustainability, And of course, it must be scalable, the usual, it must be technically feasible, And my research has always been rooted in the belief that science should serve mankind, should serve society. So it'd be quite nice to see that whatever you do is in sync with things, global priorities like food security, sustainability. So I think those things are very important, and if you get part of those, yeah.
So your work covered a broad and impactful spectrum within the oil palm industry. While we've discussed the genetics earlier, you also have significant contributions in the area of waste transformation. Could you share some details about your pioneering research on extracting oil palm polyphenols from biowaste and what impact that has had?
Thank you, Nina. In fact, I was actually working on the biochemistry on the plant. So this was something downstream, which was actually not in my line of work. But you could say that it's something that suddenly clicked, a eureka moment maybe, where it suddenly occurred to me that we are paying so much attention on the oil palm as an oil factory. Which indeed it is. It's important. It is the world's largest. I mean, it's the most productive crop, produces the most oil, right? But I think in our fervor to increase the oil, we had forgotten that the oil palm is actually a fruit. And if you look at the fruit, it's a very colorful fruit. No, it's maroon, deep red. And if you think of all the berries out there, the superfruits, they are all very colorful. And the reason they are superfruits mainly is because of the polyphenol content. So it occurred to me that, hey, these fruits must be also high in polyphenols. And because polyphenols are water-soluble, what are we doing? We are throwing it all away because it goes into the aqueous waste stream. It goes into the palm oil mill through it. So that was my idea, and I quickly did a test, and indeed, I could see that there was so much of polyphenols in there. And I've always believed that you can't work alone. You cannot work in silos. So I quickly shared this great news with two of my colleagues, good friends. One is a nutritionist, another a chemist. So we brought our three different perspectives, a biochemist, nutritionist, and a chemist. And we worked on it. We developed a process, actually, for extracting the polyphenols from the water-soluble part before it enters the waste stream, water-soluble part. And we actually developed a pilot plant at NPOB. And we finally actually commercialized it. Importantly, we built up a team. First, it was the three of us. And then they expanded the team at NPOB in Malaysia and worldwide. So while we did the process and everything, and a lot of the preliminary work, we also got collaborators like MIT, Brandeis, CSIRO in Australia, Wayne State in US. I hope I didn't miss out anybody. Yes, even Harvard, Brigham and Women Hospital. So many collaborators, including our local universities. And we showed that this product had so many health-giving properties. And I think most of it stemmed from the fact that it is a very strong anti-inflammatory compound. So things like your brain health, neurodegeneration, cardio health, heart health, everything is somehow linked to the
Polyphenol.
No, not the polyphenols. No. Any neurodegeneration, any problem, most of them, even aging for that matter, is because of inflammation, chronic inflammation. And because this compound is such a potent anti-inflammatory, so it worked. It almost, initially we were wondering, oh dear, why is it working in everything? We prefer it if it works on just one thing. But you look at brain health, it works. You look at heart health, it works.
Superfood. Yeah.
So it was really like a superfood. And I think the underlying thing was because it's an anti-inflammatory. So that was really amazing. So as I said, we have a pilot plant where we did a lot of our tests. And then we actually commercialized it. And the first polyphenol, the oil palm bioactive polyphenol plant, is actually in Mexico, in Chiapas, Mexico. And the product is actually being sold in US and all widely, but not so much in Malaysia yet.
But working towards it.
Yes, of course, every time. that is always the aim. Yes, yes.
Sure. So, as a woman leading high-impact science in Malaysia and beyond, what challenges did you face? And how has the landscape changed as up to recently?
Okay. I don't think I faced challenges, or at least discrimination, if that's a challenge you're considering, just because I'm a woman, right? I was very fortunate to have great bosses, great mentors, colleagues. but I think who valued the quality of my work beyond all else. Nothing, the other things didn't matter. But we had problems that everybody faces, not just women, you know. I mean, especially when you're leading a high-impact project, making sure you've got sufficient funding, right? And then you have the right staff, the right talent, and the right ecosystem. And to make sure that whatever you're doing stands up to intense scientific scrutiny, right? So those things were very, very important. Building up a nice team, right? That was very important. So those are the challenges and wonderful things that happen along the way because of that. No challenges if you can overcome them. It's really wonderful. So those are the challenges. But having said that, as a woman, obviously you have to juggle work life, and you're leading both a high-impact career as well as a family. So that required a lot of juggling of time, a lot of dedication, and of course management. So that was a challenge here. And how it has changed the broader landscape, I think, for women, it has definitely changed for the better, right? And I think women are so much more appreciated now, right? And a lot of publicity for women's achievements, what they can do. And I think there's also a push for more representation, more equitable representation of women in leadership skills. I mean, we're 50% of the population, but I don't think we're 50% of the leaders. We're still not yet there. Yeah. I mean, if you talk about the Royal Society was started in 17th century, right? 1560 to be precise. But women were only allowed into the Royal Society in 1945.
Oh.
So, it's kind of wrong. But so much has happened since then. So much better now for women.
And now you're one of them in the...
Yes, yeah.
So the only Malaysian-based scientist.
The only Malaysian-based scientist. Yes.
Yeah. And a woman on top of that.
Yeah, but also in terms of institutional support, like on-site child facilities, child care facilities. And also, I think, more flexible work hours. I think those are all there now, which previously were not there. So I think things generally have improved greatly for women in science.
So Dr. Ravigadevi, so what is your advice to women and young girls who wish to follow your footsteps? Yeah.
Go for it. Dream big, Don't let anybody else define your limits, You can do it. But very important is that you must have a good education, get your skills right, especially in STEM, right? Your sciences, get that strong. And then have mentors, and look at things differently. You don't always have to follow the book, right? Don't be frightened. Don't have the fear of failing, because failure to me has always been a stepping stone to success. So be bold, to me, that's very important, and you can do it. I mean, we need the women's voice, so don't let anybody say you can't do it, because you really can. I can just tell you that there was a very young scientist with a real passion for science many years ago who never dreamt that today she'll be sitting here doing an interview, being the first Malaysian fellow of the Royal Society. So anything is possible, ladies, girls, we need you. That's my message to them, yes.
Thank you for that, yes. And so you've received global recognition, seen your work commercialized, and helped reshape an entire field. But what are you most proud of all these achievements that you have achieved?
All those achievements, honestly, they truly mean so much to me, But I think, to me, the most important is the people. Right? I'm just so proud of the fact, that I worked with an amazing team at MPOB and also across overseas. But the MPOB team, we worked on it. We've had our challenges, and we just enjoyed working. And I feel that many of these scientists have now gone on to have their own projects, and they themselves are leaders in their own right. So having nurtured the next generation of scientists, being their friend, I think as a director at that time, I think I saw, I hope that's how they feel about me. I was their friend, I think. To me, that's important, not just a boss who tells you what to do, but to share. And to me,
Yeah, that work chemistry that,
it was very nice. And to this day, we still have that now. So to me, that is really important. But of course, as I said, also proud to have laid the foundation for all palm biotechnology in Malaysia. We started at ground zero. It was uncharted territory. So me and my boss, but we just went ahead and did it now. And today we've got high-tech tools in genetic engineering, genomics, so many things in all palm. Just because we dared to dream and dared to do it. So to me, I'm quite proud of that now because I think we are globally recognized now, our research, right? So that is obviously something I'm very proud of. But on a personal level, again, of course, the fact that I could manage both the research and the family, that is so important. And my children and my friends and my husband is so fully supportive. So to me, I'm very, very proud of that. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so now that you've been elected as the Fellow of the Royal Society, what's next? What do you intend to use this platform to bring towards Malaysia or to yourself? Like, what's next?
I don't see this as a finishing line.
Okay.
I see this as a new beginning for me. You know? So, I mean, being a Fellow of the Royal Society, I think it gives me a very powerful platform.
Yep.
Right?
I expect more projects from the Royal Society in the future.
But at least a global, I would like to actually participate in the global voice on things related to sustainability, climate change, you know, and awareness. I think many people are not aware of the amazing science work being done in Malaysia. So I would like to be that voice also to show them that there is a lot of talent here. And
like a gateway for Malaysians.
Yeah, a gateway for Malaysians. And I mean, I'm the first Malaysian based. I certainly hope that there are some more coming soon. No? So that would be nice, you know, just to be able to do that. And of course, I've always been passionate about all palms. It's been my career throughout. And the all palm has had a lot of bad rap. I'm not saying everything is good about it. There's a lot of place for improvement. But the all palm community has done so much for sustainability. And yet we're talking about the orangutan. It never ends, you know. So this is something where we have to show it's always evidence-based. So we have to show the evidence that not all you're saying is true.
Perfect.
I mean, people say boycott all palm.
Yeah, a lot of backlash here.
Is it really possible to boycott all palm? It is the most productive crop in the world. It produces 7 to 8 to 10 times more oil, let's say, than soybean. So if you remove the all palm, are you going to plant it with soybean? You're going to need 10 times more oil. Yeah? So you cannot run away from all palm, but there's a lot of room for improvement, both by the all palm community, but also by the global community in recognizing what the all palm community, not just in Malaysia, global all palm community, has actually done for sustainability. So that I feel is something I can do now that I have hopefully a slightly louder voice. Yes. Yeah. So,
Okay.
yeah. And of course, being a mentor to the young ones, to the others,
Yeah.
you know, to show them, hey, it is possible. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Okay, Dr. Ravigadevi, before I wrap this up, do you have any other experiences that you'd like to share that you haven't shared yet with any other platforms? Yeah.
You've pretty much asked all these questions, but maybe I would like to actually say that, you know, we talk so much about research, right? We talk so much the need for funding. But something that sometimes I feel needs to be really highlighted is that there's a lot of good research out there, funded by the Malaysian government, funded by the industry, but a lot of these don't get adopted. And to me, that is such a sad state, because you've spent millions maybe on your research, and then it is just living. I really believe that research should not live and die on the bench or publications. It has to cross that boundary and go out there. And that is something I feel that we should, I think, do more about. Make sure that good research is actually adopted, because then it is like an encouragement for the scientists. It's very frustrating when you know you've done something good. People don't want to adopt it because it's just too expensive, you know. They don't see the big picture. They see just short-term spending of money. So I think that is something that if we cannot do it at the lower level, at least the government should step in, a lot of this. I think now the ASM is on mission-oriented project initiatives. I think this is something very important because then actually Malaysia sees the big picture and implements this. So that it's no longer under any particular ministry. It's something really of national importance. So that is something I'm very excited about. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. Dr. Raviga, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me here.
For sharing your experiences. Congratulations again for being a fellow. You've been receiving these congratulations.
But I really have
months now.
It's my team. It's my beautiful team.
Yeah. So we're honored to have this conversation with you. And on behalf of all of us, congratulations again. And we can't wait to see where your science brings us next.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Right.